And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Wyndham Championship. It is the tournament before the FedEx Cup playoffs begin, although you could say that the playoffs actually start right now for many, many guys who are right there on the bubble. Remember, top 70 now. Only top 70 are going to advance into the playoffs. Sedgefield, Greensboro, North Dakota, and they've got a little storm coming their way because I just lived it over the last 24 hours. So we're going to bring in our man who is, I think he's on the road yet, but he's not back in the studio. Keith, where you at, my man?
Oh, I am. I'm already in a secret bunker, just waiting for the arrival of Hurricane Debbie. But don't worry. I brought Shinnecock along with me. I'm ready to roll. I'm here to talk all things Wyndham Championship. I'm fired up from the Olympics. I mean, how good was that Sunday finish? And it rolls us right into it. And I love your point that everyone talks about the playoffs starting next week, but for the next 4 weeks, we're going to lose names off of these field lists. And I think that everyone's aware of it. You know, last week we kept talking about Tom Kim in the military service, and like you wonder if he's thinking about it that much, and then he's crying at the scores table, like, man, what did I just miss out on? Right? Yep. Like these guys know everything that we know and more, and that top 70 is on everyone's mind, including the one, the only Jordan Spieth.
Wow. Hard to imagine. Jordan Spieth right now is 63rd on the FedEx Cup points list. You got guys like Minwoo, 62, Spieth, 63. Then you go Max Gracerman, who's played well, Mark Hubbard, Nick Dunlop, Johnny Vegas, 67, Griot, Seamus Power, and Brendan Todd. I mean, right now they're in, but there's a chance, small chance, that Spieth could not make the playoffs. That is unbelievable to say that, and how far his game has fallen. And of course, remember JT was there just a year ago, and now Jordan Spieth is in Greensboro to play. But I want to go back to the Olympics real quick. We talked a lot about Tom Kim last week. I had him to win. He made a run up there, played good golf. It's tough to see, you know, a young guy like that who is trying to medal. He's got to either medal in the Olympics or the Asian Games to avoid military service. So that was tough to see. It was also very difficult to watch John Rahm, man, on the back nine. I don't think anybody saw that coming. That was the other guy he was obviously my first pick, in him and Morikawa were my top two. And to see him fold the way that he did, wow, in the back nine, no one saw that coming. But my goodness, this Scottie Scheffler train is just unbelievable. 9 under to win. That putter starts going like that, it's lights out. I mean, he's so incredibly, insanely good tee to green. And then when he starts making putts like that, it's a lot of fun to watch. Scottie Scheffler, his main goal going into the Olympics, I just want to have some fun. you know, and you believe him at face value. I just want to have some fun. Well, I mean, if you can't have fun shooting 9 under on Sunday to win the gold medal, you're probably never going to have fun. That was something to watch. And of course, the emotions afterwards just kind of, put a cherry on top. Unbelievable golf from Scheffler.
You know what? Enough superlatives have been said about Scotty, and they're all deserving. Don't get me wrong. But there's one thing you got to pay attention to here, Travis. A lot of guys win from the front, right? And you say, oh, well, that's what they should do, right? John Rahm, he had a 4-shot lead, and he should have won. And the fact that he didn't is why we bring it up. But Scotty's been doing a lot of winning by hunting people down.
Yeah.
Whether it be on Saturday and Sunday or just Sunday. I mean, 66 at API at Bay Hill, he wins that tournament. 64 at the Players, he hunts down Wyndham Clark and Xander Schauffele, who, you know, last time I checked, Xander's pretty good, right? And then now all of a sudden 62 on the Sunday when he, you know, you only get one chance at gold, you know? I mean, that you start to see this guy on a leaderboard. And I'm telling you, and if you're betting him, you know, I was talking about it on a show on Saturday. He was plus 1,400 to win. And somebody said, would you bet Scheffler? I said, he's the only guy I would bet. I said, anytime you see Scheffler over 10-1 and he's not in jail, and maybe even if he is in jail, you bet him. Because, like, you just don't get odds like that. The guy is incredible. And when he gets – I mean, he lost strokes for the week putting, and he won.
Yeah.
That's how good – I mean, it's like – even as a PGA professional, it's hard to wrap my head around somebody with the ability to hit the ball that good, that often, lose strokes putting and still always be within 1 or 2 shots of the lead, if not winning. It's just incredible. And congratulations to him for all that he's done.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say. I mean, he's the best player in the world, hands down, as good as Xander is. There's a conversation to be had who's going to be player of the year, right? I mean, Xander can still make a run and win the, I guess you think in the end, maybe, it's over. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
well, he's got 2 majors and all right. So say he wins 2 of the last 3 and he wins the FedEx. It's still
I mean, he would need to win 2 playoffs.
Okay.
And one of which being Eastlake, in order to even there be a conversation, I think.
Which he loves Eastlake. No one plays better Eastlake than Xander. So it's,
the one thing right now, Scotty, I'm sure I'm sure he's super goal oriented. He's like, I want the gold. Now he's got to shift gears because the last 2 years he went into Eastlake with the lead, right? And he didn't win the Tour Championship, right? Yeah. So Rory a couple of years ago, then you've got Victor Hovland last year. I'm sure that Scotty, wants to end all discussion. I think he did on Sunday, but it'd be cool to see him run the gambit. If Xander can go wild, maybe, but otherwise, I think.
They should start. The season that Scheffler's had. You want to be fair. They should start Scheffler at 16 under.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's like Xander at 10. Yeah. And then go 8, 7. From there. I mean, that's the kind of the lead that he should have heading into Eastlake the season that he had. All right. Well, we got plenty of time to talk about that. Of course, you're going to be on the road starting next week. Yep. Our guys are going to be out there for all 3 playoff events, so we've got you covered on what's going to be happening on site. But we've got to focus our attention here to Greensboro. Sedgefield, of course, solid Donald Ross course, par 70. They've been coming here for years. Lucas Glover won here last year, which was a really cool story at 20 Amazing. Under. Tom Kim in 2022, he was 20 under. Speaking of making a ton of putts, I got just blitzed it. Kevin Kisner in 2021, and then you have guys like Jim Herman who won here. I remember Poston back in 19, blitzed it at 22 under. Yeah. So, kind of the who's who, I guess, of of guys of guys that can win here. But I've done my research. I don't do it to the thoroughness that you do it. But I've got 3 check marks here. All right, and then you take it from here. Give me someone that's gonna hit from the fairway. You're not gonna overpower this thing. They're gonna be playing, roughly from the same distance. So I need to be in the fairway. Yeah. Approach, we know, checks out. I mean, we got to have some guys here from 125 to 175. They're going to be living from that distance, from the fairway. And then the third is I got to have someone that can give me +5 or +6 putting, right? Can spike and can fill it up because we're going to have to make some birdies. Now, there's some weather coming, and that's going to play into this. Hurricane Debbie's on his way. It's going to play into this with some wind. But let's play from the fairway. Let's, wedge 9-8, maybe 7, right? We've got to be solid from there. And then I need to see some proof that you can take me to +5 putting.
So I'm going to check all those 3 boxes. Okay. One of those boxes, I want to add something and why it's so important. And then I'm going to add a 4th box. The first one is hitting the fairway. We have already received 2 inches of rain in the Greensboro region prior to this tropical storm or heavy rain that's coming in later this week, Hurricane Debbie, right? So the ground was already receptive, we'll say, right? They're expecting 1 inch tomorrow, 3 inches on Thursday, another 1.5 inches on Friday when the belt of heavy rain comes through. That is going to be super soft. So I would say that there's a better than 95% chance that you play lift clean in place during any portion of this tournament that they can actually compete during, right? So you talk about hitting the fairway being important. When you have lift clean in place in these kind of wet, soft conditions, hitting the fairway becomes 10x more important because you get your hand on the golf ball. All right. You get to clean the mud off of it. You get to place it into a perfect lie. If you are not hitting fairways here, a la like a Siwoo Kim, just striping it, and not as a pick or anything, but that guy hits it so accurate off the tee. You have got to prioritize probably higher than approach at this point, but not higher than putting in my mind, hitting the fairway because of the lift clean in place possibility. You get in the fairway, you can clean it. You're going to have a huge advantage over guys from the rough. And this place is already very penal from the rough. Being that it's wet and windy, it's going to be even worse. Get it in the fairway. As far as approach goes, you said it succinctly. we got to get guys with good mid-iron play. Guys hit a ton of greens here in regulation because it's a shorter golf course. I want guys that are great on approach, especially on the par fours, because we got 12 of them this week. It's a par 70 layout. So, I really want to have that. The putter you covered. The fourth thing I'll add is that under these types of conditions, you're going to need to scramble. And I know that's never been a huge key here. And if we were coming into a perfect week at the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield Country Club, we would say, well, I don't really need to lead on a lot of this. These guys are going to hit 75% of their greens that are up on the leaderboard. They need to make their putts, right? I think you're going to need to be able to scramble a little bit here. And I'm not sure that it's going to be to the extent that it was like a Royal Troon. Although having that in your back pocket that you play well in those types of conditions, I think would definitely be an asset. But overall, I think you're going to miss a lot more greens. And now you're on grainy Bermuda grass that's wet and soft. And yeah, you'll get to clean it and everything, but man, you better be precise where that low point is in your club, because you're going to have a lot of squishy lies. And that doesn't make anybody comfortable when you're wielding a 60-degree or sand wedge or gap wedge or something like that. So I would just add the box that under normal years, I wouldn't favor a lot of around the green, but the guy's got to hit the fairway, then the putter, and I would put around the green and approach equal. And that's all I would add to your summary.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's educational, and that affects some of the guys that I've picked, because I've pushed, historically around the green. I mean, you look at the last two winners, they lost strokes around the green.
Yeah, sure.
Lucas Glover and Tom Kim, they both lost strokes around the green. That's so
3 of the last 5.
3 of the last
lost.
5.
Yeah. I would be concerned about that this week in these conditions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to stick with them. I'm going to stick with my guns here. All right. A little something we call here. We kick off our show. Little first click. Take it away.
All right. Warm up the arm.
All right.
Get the mouse ready. I'm going with 2023 Rookie of the Year, Eric Cole.
Ooh, 60 to 1 first click. Okay.
Yeah. He's opened Monday at 70. So I'm not the only one that thinks this, right?
Wow.
6th at the Rocket, 7th at the John Deere, and great on Bermuda grass. He was 14th here last year, and it was kind of a pivot point in his year, because after this week, he went on in his next 7 starts. He had 4 top 5s. I mean, he tore it up during the fall, and that's really what won Rookie of the Year for him. So I feel like this is a comfortable spot for him. He's good on this agronomy, and it's not a long golf course. And when that happens for Eric Cole, and all he has to do is hit fairways and not pull that driver out all the time, and he gets his iron game and his wedge and his putter going, the guy is dangerous. And he's been good as of late. He was fine across the pond. So coming back here, back on American soil, I feel like this is an opportunity this week for a guy to break through, because the conditions are going to be such that you're out playing golf rather than worrying about winning. You're just you're in it to survive. And then maybe at the end, boom, it's over. And you're like, oh, wow, I won. And I think that is a little bit of an edge mentally for somebody who has yet to break through.
T14 last year. So he's got some decent vibes here. I'm kind of waffling a little bit on my first click. And, yeah, but I'm gonna stay with it. I like the Eric Cole. I think he's starting to put it together. I think you make a lot of valid points there. 60 to 1, and of course I come in at 75 to 1. And you've been talking about this guy for a lot, and I've slowly been warming up to him, and I think his game fits here pretty well. Now, with that said, I don't like if the short game's elevated a little bit, because I want to play from the fairway, and I think he checks the iron game and he can make putts, as we saw last week at the Olympics, and that's Victor Perez. So I'm gonna lean into the good play we're seeing from Victor Perez. Now, I mentioned the guys all the way up to 70 to start the show in the FedEx Cup playoffs. You know who number 71 is? Victor Perez.
Yeah.
And so you want to talk about playing some inspirational golf last week in France. I know emotionally that probably took a little bit of its toll, and he's flying back, as some guys are. But it is only to North Carolina, so it's not like they're going all the way over to LA.
True.
But I like Victor Perez. I think he checks a ton of boxes here when it comes to the approach game. And when it comes to being able to putt, and he putts this surface well.
Yes.
So the short game scares the daylights out of me. That's where he can struggle a little bit, and that's where I've pushed it down. So let's hope Victor Perez is hitting the fairways and the greens like we saw last week, and that putter stays hot like we saw on Sunday, because he missed out on the medal by 1. I mean, he finished 4th, which just had to be gut-wrenching. He wanted the medal in front of his home fans.
I love the Victor Perez call. I really do. Nobody, I mean, there maybe 5 guys played under as much pressure as Tom Kim, Ben On, Victor Perez, and Matthew Pavone did last week. And we talked about the French guys last week, and I said, I want Perez, not Pavone. Now, I never would have thought that Pavone would have came in DFL, but I just like the way Perez had been playing recently. If the the first thing you might say is does the emotional fatigue of last week, does that weigh on him this week? Well, he doesn't have an option.
He didn't have an option.
This guy's, he's 71st. He's got to play good again. And he's obviously in great form. He handled the pressure last week. Why wouldn't he handle it this week on a good grass surface for him? So I like it. I mean, I think the guy can carry the momentum forward for sure. I mean, I'm down with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I think he's now I think he doesn't have a history here, so that's a little bit concerning. But he's playing, he's going to be exhausted here when this is all over with, right? Because he just played the Olympics in Paris, in France, where he's from.
Yeah.
And now he's coming over here, and he's literally 71st in the FedEx Cup standings, and they only take the top 70. So, I mean, it's go time, and I don't think he has he doesn't have a opportunity to kind of say, hey, I'm tired. I need to keep this going. And the good news for him is, hey, you're playing good golf, man. Like, you're playing some really, really good golf. Now, he has the one miscut at the Open, which we're gonna overlook that. But outside of that, there's been a lot of really, really promising things, and I think it's a good course for him. So I'm gonna go with Victor Perez. All right, now let's go to the top of the board. I mean, how interesting is this event that Sung Jae Im comes in as the favorite here, right? Now, we know he's got a good course history here, but I mean, Im struggled for the most part of the year. Now he's starting to put some things together, but I'm just curious. I'm just curious here at the top of the board. I mean, we start at 15 with Im, and then we go Siwoo Kim, who's won here before, at 25, Lowry at 25, Horschel at 25, fast Bermuda greens. He's always a factor. And then, I mean, gosh, and then I'll stop at Harman. I mean, of that group, Harman's at 28. I'll take Harman of the 5.
Oh, I mean, Sung Jae Im, it's pre-Masters or post-Masters for him. And post-Masters has been really impressive. And with the course history here, it's tough for me to go away from him in that 5. I don't know why Shane Lowry's here. I mean, he's like 10th in the points. And, he played okay in Paris, maybe because he only played okay there. He had to know he was coming here because he would have let everybody know by Friday. I don't know. Billy Horschel is going to be a hot commodity. I think he's more of like a one and done play because I think consistently, if you have him still on your available to you, that's a strong play here at this place, especially with the wild weather. He's such a great scrambler. But of those 5, I'd go Sung Jae Im. Siwoo Kim definitely hits the fairway a lot. And I'm not sure. I don't know, man. Lucas Glover 2 years in a row, team no putt, like winning this thing seems like a stretch. I'd go Sung Jae. I mean, of those 5, I'm not gonna bet any of those guys. But of those 5, I would take Sung Jae because, man, he has been really good, really good. I mean, he went to John Deere, and he shot like 20 under, and he was like, he played bad. It was like, man, like that's pretty good.
This range though of 125 to 175, Harman, last 50 rounds during this stretch of great play for him, Harman's been more precise. Okay. And look, Harman plays from the fairway, and we know Harman can fill it up with the putter. Geez, 28 to 1, sign me up for Brian Harman. I am all over the Georgia Bulldog this week. Sedgefield.
I mean,
it's gonna get windy and a little cold. You know what's gonna happen? He's gonna be like, I'm right back to the Open Championship again. He's gonna get right back to that. He's gonna get right back in that mindset again, and off he goes.
All right.
Look at this. Watch this. I'm gonna show you a Brian Harman swing. Okay, here you go. Justin Parsons, his longtime coach, great guy.
Yeah.
You know, that swing right there. Now watch this. This is Brian Harmon. Look, see the finish. Like, see how similar that was to the end, or
Oh yeah.
to what he is now. I'm showing Brian Harmon when he was like 8. Look at that finish. Okay, now watch. Isn't that something? How similar that is? It's unbelievable. From like 8, 9 years old to today, just the similarities in the swing, in particularly like into the finish. When you look at that right there,
I mean, you're talking
it's pretty cool.
probably a top 5 junior golfer pre-college in the country over the last 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he was that good as a kid. He destroyed people as a kid. He was unbelievable junior golfer. Unreal. Top 5 in a world that had guys like Scotty Scheffler, who was another one that would be in my top 5 over the last 25 years. I mean, guys before they got to college who would just absolutely like would win 15 plus tournaments a year on the college circuit, on the junior circuit. Just Brian Harmon was that kid. He was great. You know.
All right, so now we're starting to get into the Cameron Youngs, Bezuidenhout, who I kind of like this week. Batia, Aaron Rise, popular. Davis Thompson, Spieth. I mean, drive the ship here. Take us somewhere.
There's a couple names I like here. Spieth, man. How about the fact that Spieth is there? I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks. I said, and you agreed with me, but we're like a couple weeks ago, Jordan Spieth's going to have to go to Wyndham because he keeps dropping in the points.
Yep.
And it's interesting. I like the top of that list there. I think that there's a lot of popularity. I mean, Aaron Rai started the week. He came off in the low 4s. He's already now down in the low 3s from a betting perspective. So people are all over him. I think in the bad conditions that they feel like with his ball striking, you're going to get a lot of accuracy. So I think that makes a lot of sense. If you like somebody like Sung J M, then you've got Rai at like triple the price. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I'm also, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm also quite fancy on Cameron Young this week. I am.
Wow, I didn't expect that to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, I know. And
Cameron Young, 33. Okay.
Yeah, yesterday when I kind of did a lot of research on this, I kept coming back to him, and I was like, well, he could probably win if it's shortened to like 54 holes and he's holding the lead. So like, I was like, let's go with it. You know, like I feel like you need really, really solid ball strikers in this thing. And when the weather gets wild, a Northeast guy who's really good on Bermuda, who went to college in North Carolina, who has a lot of experience and a lot of very positive experience on Bermuda grass. He's like 4th at Cognizant this year, you know, 2nd at the Valspar, you know, like the guy's good on positional Bermuda style golf courses. He just is. And I remember a couple years ago, TPC Potomac, when they played there for the Wells Fargo, when they were hosting the President's Cup later in the year at Quail Hollow. And he finished runner-up that year in the cold, rain, and wet wind. And he just ball struck the heck out of the thing. And he only had to putt average in order to keep himself in position because the conditions were so difficult. Most of the guys, their ball striking is what let them down. So it goes a little bit against what I thought about with the short game, but you can't just have a complete card with every single player being the exact same guy.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So Cam Young is going to be my extreme ball striker this week on my card. and at 30 in this field with the people that are there and the form that they're in. I mean, you got to remember, last couple of times that Cam went out, 9th at the Traveler, shot 59, 6th at Rocket. I know he folded on Sunday, but 6th at Rocket. Good bad weather golfer. Good in the Open Championship at Royal Liverpool. If you like Brian Harmon, he was good that week as well. Led the field and off the tee and approach. I mean, if you do that this week, you're going to win. And I think that Cam Young can do that.
All right, let's have some fun with that based on that. Let's go. So we talk about fairways.
Yeah.
You know, guys that can hit a lot of fairways, last 50 rounds, a little stack called Fairways Gained. You got Ben Coles, Ryan Moore, Aaron Rai. Brennan Todd sitting right there at number 70. He's got to get it going. Carson Young, a guy that I've bet from time to time. He's 5th. Garnett, Berger. Probably throw Berger out. There's Lucas Glover. We know he can strike it.
Yeah.
Doug Gim. It's funny, like not Brian Harmon down there at 15. We talked about he can hit the fairway. Siwoo, we know he's at 17. He'll live in the fairway.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Then let's go to approach. Just kind of see like these different names. Strokes gained approach last 50 rounds. Keith Mitchell won. Aaron Rye too. I mean, Aaron Rye checks a lot of boxes here that we're talking about.
And the putter recently.
The putter right now, last 50 rounds in the field, strokes gained putting 25th. I mean, Aaron Rye's gonna be popular. There's no doubt.
Oh, he's already popular. His number's dropping like a lead balloon. He's very popular.
There's Gim at 30. Batia, we know, can go approach at 4. Damon Eckrook, Siwoo, 7. I mean, there you go. Fairway, check. Yeah. Iron game, check. Siwoo. Shane Lowry, that's why he's 8.
Harmon, fairway's going to be
there's my boy. I'm telling you, there's my boy Harmon. I mean, he's strokes gained, approach last 10th. Lucas. You know who this is a really good course for? And I'm getting a little ahead of our script here.
Webb Simpson.
Irons check, putter check, has kind of ran up the board from time to time. He's 80-1 Novak. This is a good spot for Novak.
Oh yeah. We've talked about him a lot.
This is a good spot for Andrew Novak. I mean, I'm definitely playing him in the top 20. But irons putter. All right. Now you're elevating the short game on me a little bit. That's kind of what you do. You always throw a wrench in things. But yeah, I like him. I kind of like CT Pond too at 75 as we kind of move down the board. I kind of like, he was okay last week. I think this is kind of his kind of place. I've already bet Perez. He's at 60. He's at 75 as we're down in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. There's Johnny Vegas at 66, which is a good segue here. We're going to take a break a minute because we got a new sponsor, Keith.
Hey.
We got a new sponsor on this podcast, and we're going to be adding another. And this sponsor, just so happens, Johnny Vegas switched to their putter and won. And this sponsor just so happens that last year, Lucas Glover turned around and won this tournament with this putter. If you're like most golfers, you blame yourself when you miss a short putt. So after you hold back the urge to throw your putter in the lake, don't do that. You try to fix your putting stroke. But how long does that last? 1 week, 1 round, 1 hole? There's a company called Lab Golf that doesn't think you should be blaming yourself. That's because all putters have this thing called torque, which means the putter face is trying to twist during the stroke, so you grip it like a snake. What Lab Golf did is they figured out how to make putters with no torque. They call it lie angle balance, and you have to feel it to believe it. I did. The Lab Golf putter, you don't have to use a funny putting grip to try to keep the face square. You can putt it any way you want because Lab Golf putter stays perfectly square by itself. It's effortless. To see how much easier putting can be, head over to labgolf.com. So Lab's having a good run. Their technology is great, and the proof is in the pudding. With you saw Vegas earlier, you saw Lucas Glover, Phil Mickelson's using it. Here's a guy as we get down into the board now. That's at 80-1. He uses it as he continues to work himself back, and that's Will Zalatoris.
Yeah.
And so that's the long putter. I have that one. And let me tell you, I absolutely love it. I'm telling you right now, I absolutely love it. In the way that it's, the lie angle works and the whole bit. So, these putters, it's one thing to have a partnership with these guys. And it's another thing to completely believe in it, which I always have. And I've been following them for a long time because I see the success that these players are having. And the list is long. And then I see my amateurs, some of them that get it. And I got to tell you, these people that go to it, they putt better right away. Lucas Glover putts better. Johnny Vegas putts better. Will Zalatoris before he got hurt putts better. And so it's great stuff. And look, I think Will Zalatoris, as we kind of land on him here at 80-1, do we just, with the injury and kind of working himself back into the tour, and he had a little setback there. I mean, do we just write this season off, or do we have a little something in store for us from Will and Greensboro, do you think?
I mean, if you're up for passing out bottles of wine again, I would take Novak over Zalatoris in a heartbeat. They're the same price. I'm just saying. Like, that's the one thing you missed in the whole, lab putter read there was that, Johnny Vegas. Come on, man.
I said Vegas uses it. Vegas, he doesn't
No,
use a long putter. He uses
I know,
the
but
shorter one.
he helped me out 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I know. That's right. Yeah, you had him. Yeah, you had him. Yep.
But
Keith bet him
I bet
80-1, right?
I bet
80
the
to 1.
design 80-1.
Yeah.
80-1. And I met the guy that designs those lab putters when I was out at Riviera. He was walking around with Adam Scott during the Pro-Am day. And boy, I tell you want to talk about somebody like I'm a golf dork, right? I love everything about golf, whether it's the equipment, the technology, the courses, the agronomy, architecture, everything. You and I could sit down at a fire pit and just bring plenty of logs because like I would just sit there all day and talk about this stuff. The guy was so into what he had so much passion and so much data behind what he was doing. It just really, I mean, it is not a surprise to me at all, who's taught the game for over 12,000 hours, that those people are putting better with the technology behind that device. It works, and I think it's fabulous. So I met the guy. I thought, you know what? I hope this guy does well, but he had the right people using it. And I mean, it's not this Lucas Glover won this week last year. Then he went to the first week of the playoffs and he won again.
Yep.
And that guy can't putt.
And I want to go back. No. Lucas was
Lost
at the bottom. I mean, it was. Yeah. So I want to go back to Will real quick. Big name. Yeah. Been frustrating year. And for him with Will, it's the hour game. And we're used to seeing Will just, wear you out with ball striking. And he's, I don't know. I got to catch up with his coach, Josh Gregory. I want to, kind of get things to finish up through the FedEx Cup playoff when his season ends, whenever that is. But kind of, see where we're at with the swing and the back. I'm sure there's some give and take going on right now with that new move and protecting the lower back. All right, we're getting down into some bombers. Not unlikely here, right? To see, someone with a mod. We've already given you a couple first look with some odds on it.
Yeah.
90 or no, Brendan Todd is 80. I could see myself going top 20 on Brendan Todd here. Got some pressure on him. Currently 70th on the list.
He's got good history there.
Max Grayson been playing some nice golf. Works with Jeff Smith. Jeff's done a good job with him, getting him ready for the PGA Tour. Mac Meisner, another guy that I like, ball striking. Can he putt well enough here? I don't know.
You want a good putter?
Lee Hodges needs a good week. I mean, he's on the bubble. You want a good putter? Who is it?
Taylor Moore.
All right. Taylor Moore. How about that? Okay.
Yeah, he's got good history there, but plus he was 10th at Rocket, 12th at the 3M. Keep him over here in America. He's getting back into that form, and he's good on Bermuda grass. So when things get wild this week, Taylor Moore can score. I don't know how he does it because don't look up the approach numbers because it is wild. But, he was top 20 in the first 3 majors of the year. It's unbelievable. And
12th, the last time we saw him, he was 12th at 3M too.
Yeah, and 10th at Rocket. So there's a guy, he's 80. So there's a guy in that range that could definitely win the golf tournament. And you're talking about like even a top 20. And Valspar is a very similar golf tournament to this. You need to hit it over here in the fairway, then you need to hit it over here on the green, and you need to putt well. And those are the 3 things that we talked about earlier. And if there should be a little bit of trouble, and if my lean towards a little bit more ARG this week is spot on due to the weather, then Taylor Moore's got that in the bag for sure. So that it's an intangible for him. Another guy right around there that.
What about Steven Yeager? Steven Yeager's got a T14 and a T13 last 2 weeks here, or last 2 years.
Yeah, Steven Yeager, he was a little okay. He was mediocre at the Olympics. And prior to that, he's been off a little bit. So he wasn't good at Scotland, and he wasn't good at Royal Troon. I guess we're in Scotland, but the Scottish and the British, he was not good. So it was nice to see him play better. Great driver of the golf ball, great putter. So you would think that would fit pretty well here. I don't know that if I saw enough of him at Le Golf National, which in my mind played a little easy, right? A fifth of the
It
field had
did.
more than
It did.
20 subpar scores. And I'm fine with
Yep.
that because the Olympics wanted it to be exciting. And I think they'll do the same thing for the women this week. But like, I think this will play harder than that. And certainly with the weather. And I'm not sure if Jaeger's up to that right now, but he's had a good history here for sure. It makes sense. Driver putter. Yeah. How about, you want to talk about approach numbers and a guy who's gained with the putter in 4 straight and is sitting there like at a 110 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about him before 3M, and this is a guy that has been kind of just off the radar all year. And I brought him up before 3M, and he finished 9th, and that's JJ Spawn. But if you look at his iron game right now, it is really good, really, really good. And the question mark's always been the putter from him, but he's gained 4 straight with the putter. And if you've got his level of ball striking at a place like this, especially his long iron ball striking, oh man, you got those 2 par 3s here that are like over 220. That's a good guy to have, especially if those greens are like dartboards. That guy will just be hitting it close all the time. So I like him. And further down the board there, you mentioned Coles too. I think Coles is a great pick.
Coles,
this week.
yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, I like Coles too. Yep. Yeah, I was getting caught up on a little Hogard last minute research. Boy, that guy just can't putt, man. I mean, it just whew.
I'd rather take Svensson if you're going to take a no putter in that range.
Yeah, I agree. Svensson was Svensson was TC, or he was tied for 7th last year here.
Oh, Svensson's great on Bermuda grass, man. Won at the RSM. Really good ball striker. He's got to get the ball in the hole. But if you start to talk about like proximity to the hole and the ball doesn't bounce, and you have to hit fairways, guys like Adam Svensson, guys like JJ Spawn, guys like Cam Young, guys like Brian Harmon, these guys are going to be there, man, because they throw darts. And that's the people that I would be taking this week for sure. Because it's going to get it's going to be nasty.
It is going to get nasty. There's no doubt. It's coming. And we got quite a bit of rain here. Hurricane Debbie. We'll finish with this. The weather coming up. It came through here. We're on the right side of it, but nothing too crazy. But definitely some water. Put down a lot of water, and we got some pretty good stretches of wind there. But I think if it's closer, obviously, to the eye, they'll get more wind. But it's going to play a factor. The rain, you mentioned the softer conditions, lift, clean, and place, the importance of being in the fairway. And of course, the fairways are going to play a little wider now too, because they'll be softer. But that rough is usually no joke either. I mean, it can be gnarly and inconsistent, like tough to gauge the ball coming out of the rough in Sedgefield. So that fairway is a major premium in playing from this week. And as you mentioned earlier, this is not a long course. They're going to kind of force your hand to play from the same spot. You've got all these par 4s. You only got the 2 par 5s. And all right, 125 yards, 140 yards, 160 yards. I mean, you're just going to be living from these distances. And can you be playing from the fairway and get your iron game going? And then you're going to have to look. Historically, you've been able to push the short game down. Probably needs to elevate a little bit more this year. But you gotta get the ball in the hole. I mean, you got to get +5. Plus, you can't fake it here. You got to make some putts.
Yeah, I mean, your last 5 winners gained 6.4 on average with the putter.
You got to get it going. Yeah.
And they've made 24 subpar scores on average.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of birdies over 72 holes. That's
all right, my man. Good stuff. I like it. This can be fun. I'm intrigued this week. Decent field. Playoff start this week. Top 70 move on. Victor Perez is going to win. He's going to move right in. If he doesn't, it'll be Brian Harmon.
Yeah.
So I like my bets this week. I like it. I've sprinkled a little there on me. You got Aaron Rye, and then my boy Novak. Good spot for him. Novak, by the way, is 84th, so he needs a good week. So he needs to get that ball in the fairway and let those irons go to work, and he can fill it up now too. His putter can go.
What's interesting about him is he's got 4 top 10s for a guy that's outside the top 70. So that's a little bit of a roller coaster guy, and right now he's been good. So might be time for him.
All right, hey, get some rest this week. We'll see you on the road. What do we got first? We go Memphis first, then Colorado, then
Yep.
Atlanta. Wow, you're gonna be all over the place. It won't be hot at all in Memphis, so you should be fine.
I mean, we go to Pebble Beach. We go to Pebble Beach in February. We go to Memphis in August. I don't
Right?
know. Yeah.
Keith, you're the man. At Read the Line. Go follow him. He's the best. Thank you, buddy.